Jordon Brown and I are going to be enemies for life, and we will fight in hand-to-hand combat on the main stage at Madison Square Garden.
Rowan, get behind Abria. She's got first dibs on hand-to-hand combat, and you know she's going to kill me, so...
That is true, and so I just need a couple in there first. I just need to just get a couple blows in there.
I'm going to clip this and put it at the front of the episode, so everyone starts in that tone and then works their way through. Hello, it's Liz from the future editing this episode. There's probably a lot of you that have found the Dropout Drop-In from all of the press that happened last week with the Ticketmaster situation. So for the first 10 minutes of this episode, Rowan rejoined us to recap everything that happened, from how the articles went down at Rascal News, videos that Jordon was making that went viral in my viral Twitter thread, and we finally get to talk about some of the huge dropout news that we didn't get to talk about last week because of everything going on. Plus, as always, Jordon and I talk about the latest from very important people, and you don't want to miss this one because we had so much to say about Izzy's appearance. Game Changer had a huge Emmys moment last week, and Jordon and I finally get to break down the trailer for Smarty Pants, which is Dropout's new show. Thanks for dropping into the Dropout Drop-In. Once again, we're so happy you're here. We'll see you in the comments, and enjoy this week's episode. Last week was crazy.
Yeah, to say the least. To say the least, it was crazy.
7 days ago, we were three friends sitting on a podcast, unpacking how massive this event and opportunity was for the actual Blake community, for Dropout, for Dimension 20, and who are we 7 days later, team? Who are we coming to today?
Rowan and I have obviously had a serious rift. Our friendship has fallen apart.
We are enemies on the internet now.
Yeah, yes.
This is actually a Dr. Phil special. I'm here to mediate the two of you coming back to friendship.
As my comment section has recently pointed out, he's no longer a doctor. He let his license lapse in 2006.
Important distinction, important thing to note. Titles mean nothing.
And as Dr. Op-Out, you are the most qualified person.
Do you think they hate that I rebranded as that, or do you think they're fine with it?
I think they're probably fine with it, because I think they were probably like, oh cool, the pressure's off of us to no longer make him official.
Hey, Rowan, why do we hate each other?
So we hate each other because I was doing an investigation into the Dropout community regarding the discourse surrounding people's feelings about the dynamic pricing explosion that happened. And as I was doing research, I saw your TikTok linked in the Discord chat for Dropout, and then 2 comments below you, I saw someone saying, and Rascal used the opportunity to shit on Dropout and Actual Play, as usual. And I am nothing if not a hater of both Dimension 20 and Actual Play. Of course, my brand notoriously. And so now, because of that, we are in an eternal feud.
Correct, yeah.
I would write this right around the Abria Jordon blood feud. Like, you thought that was bad. Get ready for.
If you're a person who thinks that, you're wrong. I think we were on the same page of like, hey, this sucks and is bad. And it turns out Dropout agrees with us. It sucks and was bad.
In fact, they agreed so hard that they put out a 4-page statement with 3 very clear actions or calls to action that they're taking to try and accommodate for this dynamic pricing situation, which, in case you missed it, I'll put the link to my thread on Twitter that shows you all of the prices. I'll put the link to Rowan's article so you can deep dive in. I'll put the link to Jordon's video so you can see the reactions from, like, mid-point of the story to end of the story live as they were happening in the community. But Dropout was also not wanting to sell people $2,000 tickets, and they're going to help people buy tickets for $35 now, which is lower than any of the tickets initially were. I can't even buy groceries for $35 where I live, so to me this feels like a bargain.
Yeah, let's go over the timeline of how everything happened, kind of beat by beat. Let's go play by play.
Monday, we were so excited.
I
was so hopeful, so excited.
I wrote my article about the announcement about it being at Madison Square Garden, regarding the facial recognition technology, regarding the COVID mitigations, and I kind of like get an offhand reference to being like, oh, these sold out really quickly, there's probably going to be something about that showing up. Just like as an offhand aside comment. Then we recorded this podcast. And then Wednesday happened.
Tuesday, all was calm. The calm before the storm. We were all ready. Everyone was making their little plans. I published a video trying to help people who are going for tickets to give them some ideas and some advice, as I do for most major Ticketmaster pre-sales that I follow. I've done this historically for many different artists that are going through this process of having these massive pre-sales. And then Wednesday comes, and I am number 21 in the initial queue in the first pre-sale. I get in at number 21. I FaceTime Jordon immediately because I had a feeling Jordon was not closer than me in the queue, but I wouldn't have been surprised. And as soon as I get in, 100% of seats in the venue are available to me. Like, every single seat was in front of my eyes, and I watched them go from the initial pricing to the dynamic pricing in real time. And I myself could not buy a ticket other than a nosebleed ticket at face value at number 21 in the queue. And that is when my Ticketmaster brain that's been following this story for years went ding, 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 we've got ourselves a dynamic pricing situation, and started the Twitter thread that eventually connected me back to Rowan to, I'll let you pick up the story from here.
So you sent me that thread that you started. I saw the tweet. I sent that over to Lynn, my Rascal, who then retweeted it, and it exploded. I think Lynn's retweet of it has like 12,000 something or other. Like, it's an insane number of likes that it has. And people had started having a lot of discourse in the comments of that, a lot of discourse in your comments. And at that moment, I was like, okay, there's something here. I need to write an article about this. And so I wrote a quick, like, 400-word, like, outline of it, being like, okay, let's go. And then set up an interview with you, Liz, to go for the next day, because I was publishing a very long piece about the Lego D&D actual play and about how it's marketing, and it's good marketing, at least. I don't know. Go read that.
I will also link to that article in the description, because it is also very good, just to put that out there. So it will all be below for you guys to read.
It'll all be there. Yeah, and so then I started doing the research into it. I started realizing how intense it was. Jordon, you posted your video in response to it. Yeah, what was that like for you?
Yeah, so similar. So I was thousands behind Liz, but similarly, like, I got in as Liz was like not able to buy me a ticket. I got in and like was watching seats just disappear on the floor as I was like trying desperately to click on them, because not for some reason, but the exact reason you would expect, Ticketmaster won't let you just be like, I want one seat, best available, give it to me. Like that's all I need to do. Like, I'm not going to pick a section, just tell me where the best seat is and give that to me, because I needed one, and that should be really easy to get. But because Ticketmaster wants to, look, I don't have any like legal bosses here. Ticketmaster intentionally pulls seats back, and then re-releases them at a much higher price and pretends that people have put them in their like carts and then didn't buy them, which is nonsense. The whole floor ended up like that. Like, the first 3 rows were everyone like put the first 3 rows in their carts and then decided not to buy them. I don't think so. Okay. So yeah, I got like a nosebleed seat and was pretty upset about it. And then I was messaging with Liz, and she was like, hey, there's more seats that are popping up. And so I like went back on, and I got a floor seat at the normal floor seat price. But that's when...
As did I, just to clarify.
Yeah.
At the same time, Jordon and I did manage to go back in. Continue.
But that is when I saw, like, because I was like, all right, I'll get this, like, row 7 or I don't know, whatever, like, floor seat, because I was like, all right, what's row 1? Oh, row 1 is, like, $1,400. That's considerably more than the time that I clicked on row 1 20 minutes ago. And so I made a video sort of yelling about capitalism being the BBEG of most Dimension 20 products. God, the comments. Like, understandably, Ticketmaster is basically the only game. Madison Square Garden, what an incredible like opportunity for them. Truly one of the most iconic venues in the world. Everything great, but it's the dynamic pricing that like I was really upset about. Of like, hey, this sucks, and is like the worst form of capitalism, right? Like it's such a bad thing.
At this point, Jordon has the TikTok community. I have the Twitter X community. And Rowan then comes in with the first article that just goes through Reddit and Discord and all the different places and starts continuing the conversation. fast track maybe to we continue this game through the coming sales, and I start to piece together the hypotheses, which ended up being proven correct, that perhaps Dropout was on the back end trying to work to get more face value tickets out front, because the pattern of ticket releases started to change, and that started to be a good signal that good things were happening. Come to Rowan's second article of the story.
Yeah, so I Thursday spend the entire day going on a Charlie Day style manic, beautiful mind board of like what's going on with Ticketmaster, what's the history of Ticketmaster dating back to their court cases down to like 1994 with Pearl Jam, and kind of how it's continued through their merger.
Very Riz Gutgak coded, very rolling a natural 31 investigation. Like, you just went into it.
I went, and this article was the first time that it showed me how fucked up Google has become, because oh boy, trying to find any accurate information on the internet about Live Nation and Ticketmaster was nearly impossible. AI is a nightmare. Don't support AI. And so I was writing this article, wrote this 3,500 word piece, requested a comment from Dropout, got a reply saying that they were not going to give a comment at that juncture. And then, after I had written this article, kind of gone through the discourse, kind of gone through all of the stuff that is the context behind Ticketmaster, how it has a monopoly, how it exploits artists, how it forces artists to opt in, but they also can, and it's really vague and insecure and like unclear. We get a statement from Dropout Sunday, 2 days after my article gets published, stating that Dropout is going to opt out of dynamic pricing. And journalism works, folks. If you request a comment from a company and hold them accountable, they will have to do something about it. So this happens Sunday. We have the whole statement.
I would just like to pause here and say that I personally do not know of anyone else who was following this story at the rate that Rowan was. But as someone that had a bit of a behind the scenes via being interviewed by Rowan halfway through the creation of this incredible long piece, and as someone, I should say, who has been covering the Ticketmaster story and has done interviews about exactly this for many, many years. The piece that Rascal did was one of the most thorough I've ever read and one of the most thorough I've ever been interviewed for. So if you're wondering the quality of what Rowan put out, as someone that's been in the trenches for it for 3 years, it went there. This is one of the most thorough pieces of not just investigative journalism around like Dimension 20 or Dropout, but about this entire monopoly manipulating people who want to buy tickets, like probably many of you watching. So it is a really thorough example of this entire system and its effect on entertainment. And I think that is especially important to say as someone that sees articles about this time and time again that result in nothing. This article and this entire experience did result in something changing, which is like, so exciting!
Yeah, so if you want to know what people were saying, what all the various takes on it are, what the nuanced discussion of the ethics of working with this monopoly, and now the final example that artists of any size can opt out of dynamic pricing, which is kind of game-changing for the entire live entertainment industry. Go read the article.
That's gonna be like the perfect segue into the Game Changer segment. We're gonna use that and run with it. Jordon, I almost wanted to cancel this episode because there's such a lack of things happening to talk about. It's never been more boring.
Yep. Very little real-world news about Dropout this week.
None, in fact, except maybe like a few key things, like maybe Ticketmaster and Dropout, having a huge swing at dismantling a monopoly. And, the entire premise for our show, which is Game Changer deserving an Emmy, actually starting to come to light in one of the most real ways it possibly can.
Yeah, very, very big news for those of you that aren't following every single human being on Instagram that works at Dropout. Variety listed Game Changer as one of 5, I believe, game shows that I don't know if deserved an Emmy, but deserved to be nominated for an Emmy or could be nominated for an Emmy. The exact wording isn't clear to me, but Emmy adjacent per Variety, yes.
Let me shine some light on exactly what this shortlist means. I will pick up your cue and run with it here, Jordon. Variety publishes these Emmy predictor pieces on the reg, as they do for Oscars, as they do for Golden Globes. Like, this is the source to see the actual credible opinions on who is in the race. So there's a difference between someone like me, who is an independent in this conversation, saying these are my top 5 contenders, and Variety, whose entire existence is to drive forward the award season narratives, saying that Game Changer is not just on the short list for them, but in their top 5. Did I have a heart attack when I saw that Game Changer was number 2 on the list? Yes. Did I then immediately realize that their lists were in alphabetical order? Yeah. So I gotta take my excitement down with one grain of salt, because they're number 2 on a list of 5 alphabetically ordered shows selected, alongside Family Feud, Jeopardy, The Price is Right, and Wheel of Fortune. When you think of those 4 shows, Jordan, tell me what you think of.
Like, didn't know Family Feud was still on. Haven't watched Price is Right since I was a child. Understand, still very popular. Jeopardy, delightful, I assume, as always. I watch, clips online, but not, regularly. And Wheel of Fortune, not really my thing. Pat Sajak, boo.
We're talking about 4 titans that appear in this category on the reg. Having a new fish in this pond is absolutely, and I'm not trying to make the pun, but I'm going to, game changing. It's game changing to see anyone break through this list. And I think that Dropout has that kind of cool kid on the block momentum to come in and actually make people excited about the game show category, which would be groundbreaking for the Emmys to take advantage of, should they choose to. It's also why I think that when you read the Variety piece, they chose to put a photo of Game Changer as the image for the category, because it is the story of the season, that a little indie production company that could break through beside household name shows.
Yes, absolutely.
So fucking cool. Good job, Dropout PR team. Huzzah. Little Tommy Trickley clap. Everyone got a little clap. If we see a Dropout PR campaign for an Emmy, we're talking things like billboards, we're talking things like articles, we're talking things like more of what we saw from NPR. Jordan, I want to ask you, as someone whose interview with Sam Reich dropped on YouTube today for everyone to see, and I will link it in the description because it is a fantastic watch every time you watch it.
Thank you.
What do you want to see from Sam if he were to do a press tour to campaign for an Emmy?
Yeah, oh man. See, the thing is, last year, instead of doing a campaign, like a press tour, they took $10,000 and they donated it to charity, which is, probably better for everybody. And so, it's hard to not say, just do that again.
I will say, just quickly, Abbott Elementary also did that. In their starting seasons, they took their marketing budget and they donated it back to teachers in the school system. Mm-hmm. So it's not unheard of. Now, Abbott Elementary also has the backing of one of the biggest production companies on the planet to make that happen, but not totally off base from a winner's standpoint. Not the worst strategy.
Right. Yeah. I will say rewatching some clips from my Sam interview today, because I knew that we had talked about. Very specifically, he had hinted at Madison Square Garden in the vaguest of, there will be another Dimension 20 live show. That was the level of, hint. But I knew, in that segment that we had talked about, basically that they so undervalue how big their brand is. And so I went and I rewatched that segment because I was like, okay, this is really relevant to the statement that was released about we didn't realize that surge pricing was going to be a thing that happened because we couldn't imagine a world where that happened. And Ticketmaster didn't tell us because of course not. And but it made me think oh man, will Sam believe that he can win an Emmy? I think wildest dreams, wouldn't it be fun kind of thing, not we really could. I don't know where he's at in terms of his own confidence, but in my interview with him, he talks about how he was really shy to do press for the first several years of Dropout because he didn't think they warranted like going out and doing press, and obviously he's getting much more comfortable with that. But yeah, I would love to see just like a full court press of Sam and major Game Changer hitters like going out and like talking about, you know, like how much work they put into this remarkable game show. And obviously, like, part of that should be Sam sits down for another hour-long interview with me, of course. That's just a given.
Well, I will say, as not just your friend and someone who is seated on the internet across from you, but, like, watching the answers you pulled out of Sam as someone who interviews on the reg for Dropout, and someone who does not interview on the reg for his company Dropout. You got such quality answers out of him that I was like, either he needs to continue being entirely selective about who he talks to, because he has the kind of, like, you two have the kind of relationship, parasocial relationship with one another that, like, he has that innate trust in you to ask things that he can, like, respond to authentically, versus, like, dilute the pot and interview with everyone to get the name out there, and you tend to get more of, like, the repetitive, expected kind of cues. Or you continue to be, like, the dark horse, like, I won't give interviews, I'll appear once a year to talk to Jordon Brown, and, like, that's gonna be my main thing, or I'll appear once a year to talk to an NPR, or talk to a variety, and that is the game to play. And I don't know what's more advantageous to Dropout at this point, because I think part of the charm is that they're not this, like, widespread household thing, and there is that element of mystery that's working in their favor when they come into a category like this. But I think that when you dig for the gems, you find things like what you did with this interview, and it's like, oh, I would vote for them based off of this humble, grounded, funny thoroughness that he brings to talking about his work, and the, like, understated confidence, non-confidence in the space they hold in the industry. Like, that is so endearing that someone, like, I think only you can really pull out. How guarded would he have been if you were, like, for a media outlet that Dropout had never interviewed with before, right? Like, I don't think it would be a same quality as, like, what you or what the NPR interview was able to do.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
thank
I am
you,
putting Jordon Brown on the same bar
Yeah.
as NPR. I am doing that, 'cause I think you got better answers in some light than they did.
I mean, the huge benefit to me is I'm not an entertainment reporter who's interviewing, like, across, like, a spectrum of, like, all kinds of entertainment shows. I am a Dropout fan who got to talk to Sam. So, like, when, you know, like, when he casually mentioned gastronauts, like, my brain was immediately like, no one has ever said the word gastronauts on any Dropout thing before. I don't know that an NPR reporter who's covering a million things clocks that immediately.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, one of the things that I hope to do, like, I then didn't push Sam on it to try and get details on it, because it's like, look, if he wants to tell me, he'll tell me, but I'm not going to be the kind of interview it's like, and is it a cooking show? Is it a cooking show hosted by Reka? Because Reka loves cooking shows. Like, I didn't want to, like, try and push him into a corner where he has to be like, well, I'm not going to tell you anything more. But yeah, I think, you know, I don't remember if it was in the recording or if it was right before we started that, you know, he mentioned basically that to me of, like, not that he was nervous, but that, like, of everyone he's ever done an interview with, I know the subject material better than literally anyone he's ever talked to. And I think I've mentioned this probably a bit in the last couple of weeks, but, like, I believe I have spoken to more people at Dropout than any other human being in the world. Because, you know, like, Rowan, adore, and love gets the big TTRPG celebs. But, like, I'm in the trenches talking to, you know, like, Jesse Heron. I talked to Glenn Buzan, who's been on 2 episodes of Actually for an hour today. Like, that's the level of, like, commitment I have to talking to anyone.
Everybody employed at Dropout.
Yes. But yeah, it was so much fun. It's one of my favorite interviews. It might be my favorite. Well, the Abria one is also very fun because it was so combative and weird. But, like, yeah, Sam's also just, like, so calming. Like, his voice was just, like, very soothing, and, like, we just, like, chatted. But yeah, it was delightful.
I intended to enjoy your interview with Sam, but instead I enjoyed it and came up with so many thoughts of what I would ask Sam should I have the chance. So if you are going on the press run, Sam, and you'd like to talk more about the production mindset of Dropout, I've got a list of questions. But I do want to talk about Game Changer, and specifically I want to talk about the latest Game Changer, which was the bingo episode.
So good.
What a twist. Did you call it as you were watching that there was multiple layers of games happening here?
I don't know how quickly they showed the second layer. But immediately, because in that second layer, the PA, who's not really a PA, is just a comedian, brilliant, by the way, when they showed the PA saying, like, hey, there's something wrong with your mic, I immediately was like, there's another layer, or they wouldn't be airing this part. Like, that would have gotten cut out. I've talked to the editors of Game Changer. They're not sloppy. And so, yeah, it was, the moment, like, we saw the next layer, that third room, I was like, there it is. There's the next layer of, like, this brilliant show.
Like, the funny piece of it to me was, from a production standpoint, my first thought was, I would never greenlight a bingo episode. And that was my cue into, the game is that there's multiple games of bingo happening. So big bravo to like the Inception style game within a game within a game. I loved it. And the reveal at the end, like, I think that might be one of the most satisfying payoffs we've ever seen in like a end of an episode of Game Changer. It was just so funny to see them reveal the next team and the next team.
I made a video about this, but like, because Brennan wasn't supposed to be on that episode. Grant tested positive for COVID an hour before shooting. Sam texted Brennan and was like, hey, can you come in and like be a last minute like substitution? And that means Mike Trapp made a Brennan bingo card. And also shout out to the production company for like making a Brennan bingo card. I don't think they had a Brennan stamp. I think the Brennan stamp is added in post. I think he was using the Grant stamp. But that means in an hour, Mike Trapp came up with that, probably 5 minutes, because then production had to actually make his giant bingo card. And I think that is what really broke Brennan at the end, is that Brennan lost, like Trapp wins his room, because Brennan is so predictable that even with an hour's notice, he can be the one who loses the bingo game sheet. I will also say I posted I guess a thing that was happening on Twitter. People were posting like make my own bingo, and like that people were like bouncing back and forth. I posted one that I thought was very fun, and a bunch of people commented, but one person did comment that they think they could get bingo with Brennan's bingo card for me, and that's true, and it hurts my feelings.
Wow, read to filth by your own community, Jordon Brown.
Yeah, I was like, Lord of the Rings, check. Capitalism, check. The way I say incredible, check. Like a bunch of things that like Brennan, like that I've picked up from Brennan, like mannerisms from watching too much Dropout, or just like Brennan and I have a lot of similarities.
I think a lot of Brennan's like general vibes translate to the kind of community that is drawn to Dropout anyway. So at least you have that layer going for you. But the rest of it, I can't cover for you, my friend. I think it might just be a little bit of shared common interest, common denominator stuff. Oh my god, I bet you could fill out a full bingo card based on these episodes. Because I know we've talked about Lord of the Rings. I know we've talked, I mean, come on. The interview with Rowan about what happened last week is the anti-capitalism stamp done.
Yep.
So funny. I know I contributed a few thoughts to your bingo card, including I want to ask you about your new strategy for coping with your viral TikTok fame, which is commenting herd chef on every single Dropout TikTok that you see. How is that going for you so far?
It's so delightfully fun. Like, I didn't think it was going to be enjoyable. I thought, like, it's going to be annoying after, like, 3. And it's fun every single time so far. We're, like, a week and a half into it. If you make a TikTok about Dropout and I see it, I will comment herd chef on it. If I don't have, like, a specific thought. Like, if I have a specific thought, I'll comment, like, oh, this is, like, I love this idea, or whatever, right? If it's just, like, I want to acknowledge that I have seen this, so that if it blows up, no one has to tag me in it. I'll be in the comments already. I'm just going to comment herd chef. And that is no insult to anyone who has a thing. I don't have a lot of thoughts about most things. So, like, Heard Chef means you did a great job, and I love it, and I'm here, and I've seen it. It also means that I get more Dropout content, because the algorithm is like, this guy loves Dropout content. And I'm like, yeah, keep giving it to me.
I did love someone turned it around and commented Heard Chef on your TikTok,
yes.
and that destroyed me. I thought that was the funniest thing on the planet. So I think you've started something that's irreversible here.
Yeah. I will say, like, a lot of people asked if it was a McElroy reference because the year 2024 is Fungalore, He Heard Your Wish, and that's supposed to, like, they used Heard Chef, and I'll say, like, as someone who also watched a lot of The Bear and worked in restaurants, it's not a new phrase to me, but I do have a deep appreciation for the McElroys also using it, but I'm 3 years behind on the podcast, so it was not necessarily a direct reference, but happy to.
There's news that we did not get to talk about last week because of everything that was happening with Dimension 20 Live and then the Ticketmaster story, which is that we had a huge moment of newness from Dropout finally revealing Smarty Pants and the trailer for Smarty Pants, which is so exciting.
Looks so good. So excited for Reika. So excited for Paul Robolino, who's the showrunner of it. If you are a big Dropout fan, Paul is the one who brought out, I believe, the swords in an episode of Make Some Noise that they had to, like, name the different types of swords. You've seen him many times. Also a very talented improviser himself, and now, getting his kudos. I know he's a producer on a bunch of shows, but, like, full showrunner of Smarty Pants. Very excited about it, and I don't just say that as someone who is working on a Paul interview at this exact moment.
I had so many thoughts when the trailer dropped that I had to stop watching and wait for my mind to stop conceptualizing so I could actually focus on the trailer and what it was showing us. But there was two things that immediately jumped out at me. One was, I can't believe other streamers have not conceptualized a PowerPoint party themed show, where PowerPoint parties became so into the public domain about, like, 4 or 5 years ago, like 2024, like 4 years ago is when they really took off, kind of right before, during the pandemic. I can't believe that, like, we haven't seen a game show do this kind of thing. So I'm just, from a spot a gap in the market style of thinking, Dropout really hit the nail on the head on something that is popular enough to bring in new viewers who understand a format like that and would want to watch comedians do it, and then have the talent incubator that we've talked about on previous episodes to make it even better and help you bridge into other Dropout content. So a fabulous new, like, hub for drawing people in who might not have been drawn in by Game Changer or Make Some Noise or Very Important People, although I don't know how you see Very Important People on the internet and not just immediately subscribe, because to me that's like a one-to-one, what the hell is going on, I need to know. So I loved it from that perspective.
Huge shout out that it is not an improvised show. I mean, like, I'm sure all the reactions on set are improvised, but the comedians going in are preparing those slides. They have things written. Like, we are seeing not necessarily scripted content from Dropout, but, like, as close to scripted as we have had in 4 years of Dropout existing. Like, it's I think, exciting.
It's so true, and it really gives another level to showing the sides of the comedians that Dropout hires. Because when you come on Make Some Noise or you come on Game Changer, what the style is demanding of you is such a high level of improvisational talent. Like, that is first and foremost the thing you have to do. Secondary, you have to have all these other layers of comedic abilities in order to make the show function. But with this, the first demand it's asking for you is that level of, like, can you prepare a comedic set with a visual aid? Like, that is the concept of the show. It's not just come in and improv. It's prepare this, like, comedic narrative, this storyline, visual aid scenario, present it as you might on stage, right? To a live audience of your friends and peers who can hold your comedy to a certain bar and have it recorded for the internet. Like, that is a demand to ask of people, and it seems like from what we saw in the trailer, the concepts that people brought to the board are so aligned in that style of, like, you could hear any of those opinions on a comedy stage in LA or in a Dropout Presents special, and instead they formatted it into this really interactive, engaging, like community model where they're all spinning off of each other and reacting to each other, which I love from that like pull people into programming and make them stay lane of thinking. I had a second thought when I was watching the trailer. I'll throw it at you. The second thought I had is how smart is Dropout to find, I mean, like, period. That's the end of one thought. But if I had to continue that thought, which I will, how smart is Dropout to find another idea that plays into their model of simple concept, simple execution, and the star of the show is the talent, right? Like, they never over-rotate on the concepts of their shows. Even Dimension 20, they don't over-rotate on what it is. It is actual play. It is in a dome. They've started adding these production elements to add to it, but it really is about the talent around the table. And this is another example of, I was blown away at what we saw in the trailer in the sense of like, they really leaned into the core of this idea and they did not build it out into like an obstacle course or a huge flashy stage or like bells and whistles of Hollywood. Like, this is core Dropout living room core content. And that is such a niche that no one is doing like Dropout, and every time they show us new shows that do this, it's like carving their lane tighter and tighter and tighter to be the home for content that does that better than anyone else.
Yeah, I will say, like, I talked to BDG a couple of weeks ago. First of all, he's not in the show, which is obviously, like, a shame, because, like, that is his wheelhouse. I feel like if we get a season 2, it's going to be Reka in the desert, like, pulling BDG and be like, one last job, and, like, he has to come in and, like, because, boy, he feels like the final boss of a weird thing at a PowerPoint. Because, but I was talking to him about, like, the parasocial nature of Dropout. And one of the things that he said that he loves about Dropout specifically is the content focuses not like one-on-one, like I'm making a TikTok and you're my audience and I need you to have a parasocial relationship with me, but the parasocialness is we're watching their friendships. And that feels like having that many comedians on that stage feels like such a smart move because you've got so many people there to bounce things off of. They're all so brilliant. And like it's people like, I mean, I saw people that I've never seen before. People that, and like people lost their minds, like people that are on TikTok that are like now being added to the show. And like, it feels like another like great entry point of like, the talent incubator that you talk about, right? Of like, okay, well, we've grabbed this other funny person that we know, and we're going to plug them into this show where they can like show off a very specific thing, and then if the audience loves them, we can transition them to other things. But yeah, it's so smart, and yeah, like really capitalizes on that. This is a group of friends, and also they're brilliant comedians, and
a brilliant host in the captain seat. Finally, what are your thoughts on that side of this?
I'm so happy for Reka. Like, I mean, Reka's so fantastic. Obviously, so silly and so funny. So, like, a perfect fit for a show where the premise is seemingly present your silliest idea imaginable. Like, such a good fit for that. And, you know, like, obviously, like, we've seen her, like, in Gods of Food. Like, she can do the hosting aspect perfectly. So like I'm super excited to see her like in the big comfy chair like running that stage.
I had the pleasure of seeing her live at a ASCAT show at United Bridge Comedy, and I forget who else. Lou was also performing that night in the group that was on stage. She is so quick in a way that was shocking to see like on a stage. I thought she was, like you said, so silly, so unbelievably charming. And I was thinking about her in contrast to Vic, and the idea of like a PowerPoint party is innately something that's got a little bit more of a serious edge to it, just because it's like someone is presenting and they have to get through their thing and everyone has to react to it, versus Very Important People is off the top. You are looking at someone so incredibly goofy and silly and have to bring a layer of seriousness to it. And I couldn't help but compare, like, both of those shows are so perfectly cast for who is at the helm of them. Like, Vic could not be a better host for Very Important People. I don't think there could be a better host for this kind of format that is innately serious and needs to be silly.
Yeah. Well, usually you do transitions, so can I do a transition here? Speaking of so fast, so sharp, and so silly, Izzy Rowland, good God. Lehanna, like, Gruthers was incredible. And like what really, like the thing that makes me like the speed at which Vic said, "I'm wearing a smart blouse," and Izzy went, "Alexa."
And leaned in like that too.
Yeah,
like the whole
leaned, yes. Like the speed at which that I talked to Vic. Vic and I have a new episode of Vic and Jordon Become Best Friends coming out probably tomorrow. We recorded Friday. Classic technical difficulties. If you're a fan of us giggling through us being frozen, get ready. Like I talked about, I was like, that was so quick and so smooth. It felt like something they had done on stage before. Like, and I know it wasn't, because Vic and Vic and I had basically the same reaction, and you can see it on Vic's face as they are trying to formulate why Izzy just said Alexa to their blouse. Like you can see that like wheels turning. Like, what? Oh, smart blouse. Like a nod of like, I get it.
While staying in the character of host Vic, who would never miss a beat, it was like however long that moment was. It feels like it was a year. It was probably a full second, if not less. It was amazing to watch Vic move through that and then find the angle to come back from. It was so. There were so many layers of reasoning and decision that Vic had to make in like a singular moment. And while Izzy was so on her game, like doing the Alexa thing, I was like,
Alexa looked different.
They really are.
So
like
good.
You said in your interview with Sam, like Vic is Vic the best like comedic improviser on the planet or something right now, and like it's that kind of moment that's like no one is moving as fast as them. Yeah. That's an impossible scenario that Izzy like immediately presented, and Vic had to like come to terms with and respond to. It was. So good.
So good. Yeah, that whole episode just absolutely left me in stitches. God, Izzy just did not miss a beat. And just like that narrative, again, like shout out to Tamar and Eve, director and editor, of just like building that narrative story structure within these episodes of, you know, Vic like truly coming to for wanting to be friends with Leanna. Like so silly, so funny, just got me it just tickled me so much.
One thing they did in this that Vic's done off and on in other episodes, like in the Lisa Gilroy episode, they walk off screen, and like there's a couple episodes where they really use the entirety of the set, but the way that Vic moved through the like, say it to the camera, say it to the camera, say it to the camera, and then they do move like off camera, and like they're using that whole idea that the show that we are watching is not just the set of host Vic's show. It is the doors and behind the cameras and like the crew, fake crew, whatever that we perceive. I feel like they used the entirety of that world in this episode more than we've seen in other episodes, and I deeply, deeply wanted to see them punch through that layer a little bit more to show us like, no, like we're recording, like you can't say that for the cameras. Like I wanted to see them lean into that so much more, and like this episode did that so fabulously. You
put good friends that improvise all the time together on a stage, and you're gonna get magic. So
you're gonna get magic. You're gonna get very important people nominated for a Webby. That's what you're going to get. And eventually winning. Yeah.
At least winning the people's part. I think there are two halves. I think there's also like like the staff votes or whatever, but like dominating the people's vote.
As they absolutely need to be.
Yes.
As they absolutely need to be.
And so obviously, like, they're sending in an episode of very important people to the Emmys. I mean, that's happening for sure.
Listen, I feel like, not to again reference your interview, but you just got so much out of that. Like Sam says it himself that the Brennan episode of Very Important People is the episode of all episodes. Yeah. Like I'm waiting for the sucker punch to hit.
Yeah, and we have 3 episodes, and we know the order now. The final 3 episodes. We have Allie and Pig Person 1, I believe, is their character's name. Then we have Rashawn and Ross in the priestly gear next week, and then the finale, or 2 weeks, sorry, and then the finale, whatever, 6 weeks from now, of Brennan.
We've made it quite apparent on this show that we think that these shows are Emmy award winning worthy.
Agreed.
And if Sam wants to be humble about it, then we won't be on his behalf. No, so good. I think that Vic could do a whole press tour to go back to that idea of like, who do you keep exclusive and who do you like pump out to the press? Like, I want to see Vic on every outlet talking about this show because it's so phenomenal. Maybe after Vic wins an Emmy.
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? Not me. I can't. I won't. Vic did promise to thank me in their Emmy speech, so we're hoping that still comes true. We get the Allie episode of VIP this week, and I can say that Eve, the editor of Very Important People, has said that it is like a very, very fun episode. Compared it to Zach's episode, not necessarily in terms of like Vic breaking, obviously, but just that like Allie's laugh is so infectious and fun that like it really, I think like probably is going to tickle the like crew a lot more than what we see in some other episodes. Although it feels like the crew is always laughing.
Breaking the crew,
right?
I can't imagine it. What?
First time for everything.
I would like to speculate wildly about a new pitch I have for Sam, which I tweeted about last night. Which is that we've gotten inundated with Abria and Erica Explore Castles content over the past few days.
So good.
And I would now like to see a travel show where Abria and Erica go check out all kinds of places and just give us running commentary on them. Send them to every castle in the world.
Yeah.
And just send a crew and let them just go explore and talk about cannons and statues, and I would pay to watch that content.
Let them read sad plaques about sad history men and cry. Like, I'll watch it forever.
I think there's a history show to be made here. Bria and Erica learning like the history of the world through extravagant travel. I think that's a chaotic pairing that I would like to see leaned into. So that's less about a speculation and more of a pitch of you have the concept right in front of your face being proven. So let them give them a destination and tell them to go shoot at it. And let's see what they come up with, Sam. Let's do it. I'd like to see it very much.
Agreed. I got to spend an hour chatting with Glenn Buzan, the author of Their Mom's Way Worse Than You and Their Dad's Way Worse Than You. This is the new one. They're delightfully fun books. And Glenn is incredible, and you should buy those books. And watch the interview whenever it's out. But, like, buy Glenn's books. You know Glenn from the Housewives episodes of Actually. So funny, so talented.
So good. I cannot wait to see the interview. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait.
It's very silly.
I mean, we couldn't have predicted the last week. Even when we said last Monday that it was going to be a big week, we didn't know what was going to happen. So I'm just done. Yeah. I'm done guessing what we're going to talk about next week. I'm not doing it anymore.
That's fair.
But whatever happens, we'll be here covering it.